Welcome back to Loanology, the Jonathan Wells podcast, where we talk all things finance and real estate related. So today we are going to talk about. I'm actually filming a double header today, or recording a double header. So I just recorded my last episode, and we're recording this one here before we cap the night off. So, first we're going to be talking about what do we call this? Like, it's not lead conversion. Maybe it is. Let me see what topic we actually have here today. We've got the art of closing deals in real estate, right? So I'm going to talk to you guys about how I've closed, a lot of deals in real estate. I think I've sold 10 million plus for the last 3 or 4 years now, and that's financed. So my clients have probably purchased closer to about 12 to if I funded 10 million, they probably purchased between 12 and 13 million, depending on down payments and whatnot, because I just track the loan amounts or whatever. But yeah, I'm going to talk to you guys about how we close deals. The best year I ever had, I think it was about 16 million, which would have been in 2021. And then this year's goal is 24 million. That's the goal, right? So we want to make sure we hit that, be the first year in the 20 million number. And then from there, the goal would be to continue to rise till, we're at least at 100 million in production. So we're going to talk about the art of closing a deal. But before we do that, we always have to start off with our little cocktail. So admittedly, I don't really have a lot of materials to make cocktails at the house right now. Unless I was just going to pour straight vodka or like a pour of, scotch or bourbon or something like that. So I figured I'd do something a little bit different. I don't really know if this is a cocktail or not, but we're going to make it one today, and we're going to name it. So I have Jefferson's Ocean, which I don't know if you guys know what that is or not, but it's like a aged at sea bourbon. It's like aged in like barrels or whatever that have like salt in them. So it has like a salty kind of a flavor to it, like flavor profile. It's very strong. And I got a friend that loves bourbon, hates Jefferson's Ocean. I don't mind it. I think it's great, but personally, I like a lot of bourbons. And if you have like Glenfiddich, they have what do they've got? It's a Scotch brand, but they have a tropical one. It's like aged in rum barrels. It's like their spin on that, right, for Jefferson's. So I have that, and I also have Baja Blast. So we're gonna see if this combination works. I'm gonna take another sip of this bourbon before I absolutely ruin it by pouring Baja Blast in here. That's good. Also, don't come at me for having Baja Blast in my house when I just said I don't have anything to make cocktails with. I don't even know why I have Baja Blast, to be honest with you. But we're gonna call this Summer at Sea. So let's give this a shot. This looks terrible. I just poured the Baja Blast in here. It is definitely looking a little weird, but let's give it a shot. Okay, honestly, it's not terrible, but it tastes like Baja Blast. Like a little bit saltier though. Yeah, that's probably like a 5.7 out of 10. That's definitely more Baja Blast flavor than anything else. It's got a little interesting mid taste because of the bourbon, but it's not anything special. So definitely wouldn't recommend doing that. Defiling the bourbon that way, but it was worth a shot, and I needed a cocktail for today. So on to closing deals in real estate. So we talked about lead generation before, right? Like that's something that we definitely want to. You have to create. You have to find people that want to buy homes, and you have to find people to prospect before you can close a deal. But the most important thing that I can find is your professional sales process, right? And so what your professional sales process looks like and how you stick to it determines your success. So for example, I've talked to different realtors about this, and I've told them, I got a close friend of mine who's a real estate agent, and I told him, I said, hey, we were talking about calendars or whatever, right? Because he was like, hey, like, how do you stay organized? I wish I could be as organized as you or something like that, right? Number one, my life's not that organized, but I do have boundaries. So I said, well, you can be. It just requires discipline and you telling people no. And he's like, well, what if I have a client that wants a showing or whatever? And I told him, I was like, you know what? Here's what I do. I was like, I do not, like, basic rules of my calendar. I do not take appointments on Mondays, period. I'm opening up Fridays now because, like, I need another day to have appointments because I'm that busy. But I was like, I really don't like taking appointments on Friday after 3 o'clock. Like, unless it's a do or die kind of thing, I'm not going to do it. Also, I do not take appointments before noon. Those are my rules. No appointments on Monday, no appointments before noon, period. Except for like Friday, I'll do like a 10 a.m. to like a 1 p.m. appointment range. Because Friday, I'm not really, doing much, anyways, when it comes to like, unless it's like, Friday's like a way to like, like recap the week and get caught up on everything that I need to get done, like that I need to finish out for that week, right? Like I don't really do a lot of outgoing stuff. I just kind of deal with what I have on my plate, right? So Monday's like getting everything coming onto my plate. Everything during the week's like working through it. Friday's wrapping up, right? Um, I'm a morning person. I'm most creative in the morning, but I know that if I'm the most creative in the morning, that's when I want to be on the phone. That's when I want to be creating content. That's when I want to be engaging with people that I can do on a, very leveraged medium, right? I do not want to be one-on-one when I'm most creative because I tend to overpromise things. I tend to, um, I also tend to waste the creative time on one specific appointment, right? And so my buddy asked me, he's like, well, like, what if somebody, their schedule doesn't allow for them to meet unless it's like during the morning? I was like, then I won't meet with them. He was like, wait, for real? I was like, yeah. If they can only meet with me in the morning or they can't meet with me during work hours, I was like, I will not meet with them. We can do a phone call on their lunch. We can do a phone call in the morning sometime, but I'm not going to have them come to my office and jack up my entire day when I could be talking to 20 more people and, getting more deals in that way, right? And that's not like it's borderline an ego thing, right? It's really more so of like I know where my time is best spent at certain times of the day, and I'm going to do those things and I'm going to make sure those things happen, right? And so if I have a client that does not respect my time in that way, I know that that client's not for me, right? And simply by having boundaries, you are going to weed out the types of clients that you're not going to want to work with inevitably, right? So, for example, I had a client that was demanding that I meet with them that week because they wanted to go see like they want to put an offer on a house like later on that week, right? I'm like, great. I was like, just so you know, like they called me on like a Monday. I was like, hey, just so I can meet with you tomorrow, which would have been Tuesday. I was like, I can meet with you Wednesday, but only up till 5 o'clock. I have to leave at 5 o'clock because I have a date night planned with my girlfriend, and that's the only like we only see each other on Wednesdays during like Wednesday afternoons because she works super early. She has to get up at 4:30 in the morning. So the only times we hang out are Wednesdays and then on the weekends. So I haven't seen her since obviously like that Sunday. So I told this client, I said, if we can meet on Wednesday, but it's going to be from 4:30 to 5 o'clock, or maybe it was like 5 to 5:30 because I think I did like cut into that date night a little bit. So I did bend a little bit for that client, and then I was like, we can do 5 to 5:30. I have to be out the door at 5:31 though. Like I can't mess around with that time. I was like, any other day of the week we can do. We just can't do that day of the week, right? Past 5:30. So we're supposed to meet at 5. I log in at 5. Lo and behold, the client's not on there. Texting him, calling the client. Finally hear back from the client. It's like 5:12 at this point. And she's like, all right, cool, I'm going to be on in 2 minutes. So she gets on at 5:15. And I tell her, I was like, hey, just so you know, like, we plan for it at 5. I get it. Things pop up. Stuff like this happens. Totally understand. I said, I'm more than willing to meet with you at noon or whenever your schedule permits tomorrow. but I did specify that I have to be out the door at 5:31, and I do not have enough time to go through everything now that we're logged on 15 minutes behind, right? And so I honored my schedule. And then the next day, we had an appointment. We rescheduled the appointment for the next day. I log on, text the client, no answer. Call the client, no answer. And, I finally hear back. I cancel the appointment. I move on. Hear back from the client. She says, hey, we found a different lender we want to work with because they respect our time more, or something to that extent, right? And I was sitting there like, okay, like for real, like you obviously don't respect my time, but that's fine. And so, I ended up talking to their agent about it. We to make sure that like him and I were still cool because I didn't want him to think that like I, screwed over the opportunity with this client or whatever it is. And he straight up told me, he was like, yeah, he's like, honestly, he's like, I know they're going to be a pain in the butt already because they did that to you. Right. Um, and so that is a classic example of, by having boundaries, you are going to help convert leads better because you're going to know who you want to work with and who you don't. Right. So it's a bit of a rant, a little bit of a long-winded explanation, but you do not want to work with somebody who does not respect your time. You do not want to work with somebody who does not respect your boundaries, right? So you have to have things set in place so that you can achieve your goals, but also have a life outside of that. So have a couple late nights that you work a week. Have a couple days where you take off early, right? Like have those things in place so you could enjoy life and you could also work super hard. So if you are, so that's what you're going to do, right? You're going to do those things to convert these leads. There's going to be a certain percentage of people who want the lowest price, right? Like that's all they search for. Lowest price, lowest price, lowest price. Then with the lowest interest rate, with the least amount of fees, they want an agent that's going to list their home for 1%. They want, an insurance agent that's going to give them a quote of $100 a month, right? That is maybe 10% of the market, right? You also have another 10% of the market that they want to pay more than everybody else, right? Like for whatever reason, they love, it's just something about them that they want to pay more, right? And then there's 80% of the people who just want a good deal and to be taken care of. So you're marketing to 90% of the people that are out there, right? And on top of that too, you're also marketing to the people that are gonna follow your direction and do business your way. So that's essentially good leads, bad leads, and then there's ugly leads too, right? So there's really 3 different types of leads. So good leads qualify, which is important, and they will follow your rules, right? Bad leads don't qualify, period. They don't have good credit, they don't have a down payment, they don't, whatever, right? Obviously, you can get down payment fixed and you can do down payment assistance and whatever, but you get the gist, right? So bad leads don't qualify, good leads do. Ugly leads are where most people waste the most amount of their time. Ugly leads are like that client I just described. They absolutely qualify, without question, right? They will buy a home, but they're going to be a stinker about it the whole way, right? They're going to be really difficult to work with the entire way. You're going to want to pull your hair out because you've been working with them for 6 months. They still haven't bought a GD house, right? And so they haven't bought a house because they lowball everything. They don't listen to you. They don't respect your time. And, at the end of the day, they're probably going to think that they may or may not think that you screwed them over. That's probably not the right word to say. But they're not going to appreciate the work that you did for them, right? If you've been in this industry for more than 6 months, you know who these people are, right? So here's what you can do to overcome this. Have a process. Have a sales process, right? So if I was a realtor, here's what I would do. First thing, lead comes in. You have an introductory call. You want to know about them, right? Ask them, hey, what's prompting this move? How can I help you today? What are some questions you have for me before we get this appointment set up? Because I want to make sure I'm answering the questions that you have immediately so you know exactly what to expect, right? because you want to get them clarity. So they'll ask you, hey, I just want to know what my interest rate's going to be. Great question. Honestly, interest rates right now for my clients are varying between 6.25% to really like 7.625. That's a pretty wide range. Now, those are obviously going to vary on credit scores, down payments, loan types you take out, how much you're getting in seller credits, how much you're paying, in fees to get that interest rate. So what we're going to do is when we sit down, we're going to go through what your rate is. I'll spend extra time on that. And we'll also talk about rate strategies so that you know how to get the best deal on your home, because the lowest interest rate does not always correlate to the most savings right now. And then they might ask, oh, why is that? Great question. We'll talk about it a little bit more in the appointment, but here's the gist of it, right? Or for a real estate agent, hey, how much do you charge? That's a great question. Honestly, my fees vary between 3% and 6%. It just depends on the type of service that you want and the amenities that come with it, right? I'd love to see your home and kind of get you an idea of what the different quotes would be for my services and see which option you'd like to pursue with, right? So you're answering their question. You don't ever want to not give them the answer to the question, right? Because then they're going to think that you're, trying to hide something from them, right? Give them the answer to your question, but also tell them, hey, this also depends on these factors, right? Like, let's have this conversation about that so that we can get that figured out, right? Cool. So moving forward, you want to answer the questions, have that intro call, schedule an appointment. So if I was talking to somebody on the phone, I'll pull up my calendar and say, great, I can do, what days can you do in the next 2 days? I have the times pulled up. Great, boom. I select time. What's your email? Plug the email in. Cool, I just sent you a calendar invite. You'll get that. I'll talk to you then, right? Or I'll just text them the link. Hey, schedule it yourself, and I'll follow up with them the next day if I don't see it come through, right? So schedule the appointment with them. As a real estate agent, you should be doing. Realtors are really good with listing appointments. They're not good with buyers appointments or home buyers consultations, right? You need to do buyers consultations, especially now that you have to get the damn form signed for your clients to work with you. So do a buyer's consult, talk to them about the different programs, talk to them about what you can do to help them out, talk about your services, get them motivated, get them excited about the home. Like, it should be an experience, right? And then you're going to, then you're going to move them through the process, get their signatures, and go through all that, right? At a certain point, once you realize that the person qualifies, right? If they start to push back, that's when you know they're an ugly lead. And it's really a gut feeling, like most people understand that. But once they start to push back, that's when I give a long list of things to get done for them to get what it is that they're after. So for example, like let's say that one client wants a pre-approval. And I know that this client's gonna be a pain in the butt. For most clients, if they want a pre-approval, what I could do is I could easily give them a pre-approval based off of like their income, the pay stub they sent in, or I can pull an online employment verification. Um, I can have them do an automatic asset verification, so I can see how much money they have. Like, it doesn't require a lot of work for me to pre-approve somebody, right? In most cases. However, if I know that this person is an ugly lead, I'm going to ask them for more things that I do need. I will need that at some point in the process. But with where I might overlook some things in other circumstances, I'm going to require in this circumstance, right? Because what I want to do is I want them to know that, like, hey, I'm in charge here. This is what I need from you to get what you want, and I need it like as soon as possible, right? The other reason for that is if I have them gather all this stuff and go through all of these hoops and set up a high barrier of entry, if they get through that barrier of entry, chances are they're probably not going to want to do that again, right? Like, it's a pain in the butt to get a lot of these documentation items together for a pre-approval, right? It's a pain in the butt to meet with me and go through an hour-long presentation on, their home, like, figuring out their needs and doing all that stuff. I will intentionally take more time with that client so that I build more rapport, so that I get closer to them, so that I know that I have them locked in. And this is more for like people who are shopping around. If somebody's a pain in the butt, I don't really want to work with them, period, right? But if they're shopping around, I'm going to spend extra time with them. I'm going to get them in the office. I'm going to make sure I get all their documentation together. I'm going to send them through underwriting because I don't want them to have to worry about that I don't want them to want to go through that again with anybody else, right? So if they're shopping you, you can do those things. Yeah, so high barrier of entry. Also, you want to, for any lead period, you want to have a lot of follow up on them, like at least 7 times you're reaching out to them. And a lot of drips like after the fact too to stay in touch with them as well. But going back to leads, they're good, bad, and ugly. Ugly leads, high barrier of entry. Most of the time, they're not going to want to do it, and that's okay. And it is more than okay for you to lose a client or two. Like, I couldn't tell you how many times where I've had a client that I've lost, that I've followed up with that real estate agent and said, hey, like, I wanted to see, that one client we talked about, did they ever close, right? And they'll be like, man, like, either they finally did after 6 or 8 months of them looking, or like, no, they're still, like, we're still working with them, right? And, at that point, the agent's already so invested that they really want to close it out. But I'll be there, sitting there like, dang, like, I am so glad that that I let that client go, right? Because I just saved myself so much more time, and I've closed out 3 more deals because I had time to do those deals, as opposed to this person that's sucking your time away, right? So my philosophy is with ugly leads, if you're going to lose anyways, lose as quickly as possible because you don't want to waste your time. That's the worst feeling ever. You waste all your time on this person and all this effort, and either they don't close, they work with somebody else, they don't close with you, or they finally do close and you look and you're like, the amount of time that I spent on you, I maybe made $2 an hour, right? Like, that's the worst feeling ever. So again, that's that, right? Yeah, so you're really going to focus on probably working with 30 to 35, maybe 40% of the people you get referred. Because again, half of them probably are going to qualify, and then another good percentage of them are going to be ugly leads. The other thing too that I found with like closing deals is being almost uncomfortably, well, even it actually is uncomfortably, being uncomfortably transparent, right? Letting the client know, hey, like, this is what I want, and I know that you want the same thing too. Can we work together, right? Or how do I make this work for you, right? So, for example, I might quote a client a price, whether it's an interest rate, closing costs, or something like that, and I can see them tense up a little bit during that. So then I'll ask them like, hey, it seems like this might not be what you want right now. What did you have in mind? Or what could we do to make this more comfortable for you? Right? Simply asking them. I feel like a lot of people treat sales as like this dance that you do, and it's this like, okay, I'm gonna dunk on them or they're gonna dunk on me, and I have all the scripts memorized and I have all the different things that I needed to do. Um, Verbalization is important, and like messaging is important, and how you say things is important too. So there are sayings that I have, and there are things that I do to actually elicit certain responses and certain, feelings from clients and things like that, right? However, you're still talking to a human being, right? You still need to make that connection from one person to the other. So asking them like, hey, this might not work for you. Maybe this doesn't work for you right now. Like, what would work for you? How can I make this better for you? Right. And then see if you can actually do that. Um, so, really like treating each person like they are a person. Oh, hang on. I'm getting a call. All right, cool. Treating each person like they are a person, and really working to actually making the deal work, right? I'd hang my hat on the fact that a lot of times, a lot of business that I get is turned down from other lenders or, clients that need more in their pre-approval, and it's simply because that loan officer never set the tone with that client to say, If you see a home that's more than what you're approved for, please let me know. I'm more than happy to run those numbers for you and see if there's a way for us to make that work, right? Everything in real estate's negotiable, and um, every scenario, it's just math, right? Like I say that all the time, it's just math. People can afford what they like. People can afford what they can afford, and you can qualify somebody for whatever price point they want as long as they have enough seller credits or down payment, right? So that's a little rant today. Hopefully that all made sense. I'd love to hear you guys, your comments or your questions. And again, we just shot 2 back-to-back real estate agent directed podcasts, so we got to do consumer direct ones next. So see you guys in the next episode. I'll talk to you soon. Before I do let you go, though, please share this with anybody that you think would actually get some value from it, whether it's one person or 100. Any share is amazing, and I would appreciate it. Thank you all so much, and make it a great day.